Jacob's ladder, may we ascend the frequencies all the way up to the divine. May they invoke the connection to Source. Hello. You're right on time. Thank you for being here. We are trying to get everything set up with Facebook and Zoom.
I know, it's so complicated.
Yes,
I
but
am impressed with that you guys can
we are literally
sync everything.
getting everyone on board.
Is Clark here helping?
He is going out. I'm wanting to make sure everyone can hear me. Hello, Vincent. Clark is on a mission to get a little cable that broke here on the mic. So he'll be back just as soon as he can. And everyone's coming in. So we're just gonna hold just for a little bit while we have this beautiful crystalline harp. Allow Clark to come and a few of the others. And we've got a wonderful sermon today.
I know, I'm
It's like a
excited
treasure
about
trove.
it. Yeah.
And I was up late trying to figure out to find this original source material. And I did find two. I couldn't believe it. That's the beauty of the internet today. So instead of me flying to Germany and Italy and all those other places, and I had to do a deep dive, I was able to find the original source material in the Angel of Raphael.
For the Adam and Eve?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And there's two different books. One is the generation of Adam, the generations of Adam. That's the one I was trying to find. That's very hard to locate. And the other one is this conflict with Satan in in paradise or after when they were expelled. So there's two. And I was able to find this one that was kind of nefarious that you couldn't find. And that's where I spent my time trying to locate that. And I've got the links where you guys can get it.
Oh, good.
Did you discover who wrote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was where a lot of this research was. So I was trying to figure out where is it coming from? Because I've heard about this and I'm going to reference it in the Zohar. So then where is this and where is this coming from? So that's a lot of this is exactly to answer you, Vincent, to answer you, where is this coming from? And I believe that it's coming from oral traditions, that it came out of Egypt and the Egyptian mystical brotherhoods, and they had this. But when I started reading it, that's what I was trying to find. I was locating it, right? There's a lot of Kabbalistic verbiage. I got one of the books that's written in Old English. So you really have to, the spelling isn't even correct, so I got it to share with you.
Okay.
And it does go over the Ten Commandments, but it's saying the original book is written on sapphire. Sort of like the Emerald Tablets were written, right? This is really interesting.
And do they say the original source was off planet?
They're saying, well, this is,
Or
it was
however
given
they
to
worded
Adam.
it
This is
back
what we're
then.
going to discuss.
Okay.
That's what I was fascinated with. So you just,
Nailed it.
both of you nailed exactly where I was trying to trace this, right? Where does this come from? Why Adam had it, and I'm going to read out of the Zohar. He had it, and when he was expelled, it flew out of his hands. That's where I was tracing this. I heard about this. And then he's he's expelled, and then he's crying for it, and is petitioning for it, and it comes back to him.
So I understand Adam's a fallen angel
Adam is not a fallen angel.
because
Adam, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
He's different than the angels. And what's interesting is some of these keys, and I think there's 1,500 of them, were given to Adam that weren't even given to the angels. So that's why you make a distinction between the two. Very interesting. And that's this whole rebellion, the fall, is with Lucifer, is because Lucifer doesn't want to pay homage to the newborn Adam. That's where that is.
Is it all tied into the cosmic aspect?
It's like,
Or is
it's
this
almost
more-
like Adam was a creation and God creates this unbelievable blueprint and this creation, and Lucifer's already there, and the angels. And he is an angel. Lucifer's an angel, and I'll read to you passages. It's
Right.
unbelievable. But interesting, I'm giving you a little teasers here already before I get into it, because she's starting to ask
Oh,
questions. now.
sorry.
It's okay.
You probably
It's
need
okay.
to concentrate and
That's
think
all
about
right.
what
That's
you're gonna
okay.
say.
We'll give Clark a few more minutes to get in.
Okay.
But what happens is that's the whole fall of the fallen angels. Lucifer is an angel, and you're going to see he's a bright light. But what I discovered, and this was the teaser in this book of the generations of Adam, that they will talk about Adam and Eve. Eve gives birth to Cain, and he's a shining light.
Okay.
And then he gives birth to Abel. And then there's some other this stuff about, which makes a little bit more sense, and you don't know if it's made up in later, subsequent thousands of years later, but they're saying that the whole reason that Cain slew Abel was because there was he wanted to marry his twin sister. So now you have a twin with Cain, and they're both shining lights. And then that's where the jealousy comes from, because Abel was supposed to marry her instead, because it was too close. Very interesting. So there's a whole lot of nuggets in here that give you really, it opens up different levels, doors to think about. It's a more fuller understanding. But they've had this, and I'm going to go into, they've had this. I've found the book, and I'll give you the link, that was in the 1800s on this. So they traced this back, and it was the mystical brotherhoods had it. And so, but now where did it come from? And it was given, and then it was relayed by this rabbi. That's why I'm going to read literally right out of the Zohar, where it comes from. And the rabbis have had this. The problem is, a lot of it was written in Hebrew. It was only the Kabbalistic scholars that would have had it. And then it wasn't widely circulated. But the mystical brotherhoods would have had it, and it was translated to Aramaic and to Egyptian. And then finally an English version comes on, I think it's in 1703 from Amsterdam. And that's the one I think I located. So I'm going to give you the link so you can find this yourself. Some of it's written in that Old English, but it wasn't incorporated as many of the other books, like the Gnostic books, into our own King James Version Bible because of Constantine, and you know how they threw some out, threw some in, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that interesting? It'll tell you about exactly that Adam and Eve are lamenting. They're in the waters. One's for 40 days, one's for 44 days. It's all metaphoric.
Yeah.
And it's tied into the tree of life. And it's metaphors. What is symbolic of something. It's not just, and I think this is where a lot of times people have a problem. They take things literal.
Yeah.
And it's not literal. Kabbalah, when you study it in depth, it's all symbolic. There's a whole nother layer, which is how Jesus was even teaching, right? So there's other symbology that they're speaking about. So you think, this wouldn't make sense for someone. The tigers for 44.
Doesn't make sense. No, you're gonna hurt yourself, right? You're not eating there. It's just like right, just shrivel up. So it's a metaphor, and that's what they're emerging themselves into. So it's you've got to think on this on a higher topic. And then when you start to synthesize that, you see, Clark was our rescuer. He fixed the cable.
Thank you.
So now all my Zoom people and Facebook people can, all right, beautiful. So we have more people. Thank you for everyone coming on board. You got a couple of teasers because the people here had some questions. And I promise to answer them as best as we can. But we'll go ahead and set our harp again and have a little invocation prayer, because to open us up to all this divine knowledge that we're going to be sourcing today. And my job is just to open the door, show you where this is, and if you have that thirst, you're going to go after it. Come back and give us some more knowledge, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and just have this beautiful intention. And again, I've already apologized to my Zoom people, because sometimes that have a noise negation, but you can't hear this on Facebook Live. And we have it going on the Cosmic Center. Clark and I figured this out finally, as well as my own Facebook page. So, and that you can hear the beautiful frequencies. So let's go ahead and just bring in all that is holy to us. And we are this beautiful microcosm of the divine, as well as the cosmos, as above, so below. So let's go ahead and create this beautiful of light and frequency, and bring heaven down to earth and earth to heaven. And let us ascend these beautiful frequencies of light. All the holy ones, all the angels, invoking our own divine essence. All the saints, all the avatars of light, throughout all the ages, into the future and beyond. So now, while we're connected to this beautiful source, let us now dive into source material so that we can better connect ourselves to source. Because I believe that was the knowledge that was meant for Adam and Eve, as well as all creation. So now that we are here, we have this microphone so we can hear better in person and on Zoom and on Facebook Live. People on Facebook Live, can someone chime in and please tell me if you can hear? Can you hear me on Zoom? We have people there. I'm hoping they can hear me. Here, let me see if I can call them out. Clark is double checking. I am hoping that Zoom can hear us, and we know that it's going to be recorded for future use on YouTube or on Facebook pages. So in case you don't have to take notes, that's one good thing about the technology today, is we can just be gathering information and being here and knowing that you can replay it later. And so then you can take whatever I've done and dive in deep. But my name is Reverend Robin, and I'm here with the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light, and our beautiful people have come to share their light in person, as well as on technology with I love the people worldwide. And let's go ahead I always open all the services with this beautiful prayer for paradise and truth. It is with the Jill Ray Fellowship that this is literally our path. Great God of light, we behold your plan unfolding, whereby all spiritual clouds are dispelled, impurity and error cleansed from the realms of spirit and matter. The age of light and joy is being born through your infinite compassion. Misguided forces awaken unto truth, and negative practices cease, while forces of light unhindered restore the world to peace. All of nature receives your loving influence and finds its rightful place. Peaceful clouds move across brilliant skies, and the fragrance of countless flowers floats upon the air. Abundant harvests glorify the earth, every corner filled with happy voices. Boundaries between countries vanish, and ancient conflicts disappear as if dreams. All people are united, encircled by your light, and guided by your wisdom. Through service to humanity, all are blessed with health, peace, and prosperity. Great God of light, strengthen us with courage and wisdom to follow your will and realize paradise on earth. As we connect to Source, because I believe that is the book that we're speaking of, that Adam was given, the basic premise is for us to keep our connection to the divine and have this God realization within us. So let's go ahead. This is a beautiful prayer that I wrote. God of our heart, God of our realization, beloved benefactor of the cosmos, creator of love divine that creates and generates the universes that are. Come shine down upon us and into us. Fill us with your holy magnificence. Awaken us. Activate our spirits. Set us afire with your grace and love. Empower us, O Lord, to be fully activated. We are your sons and daughters, made in your image and in your love. Shine down upon us and let our lights help serve all humanity. Help us to acquire virtues, find our path of service, and lift the veils of forgetfulness, and let us receive enlightenment to help light the world. And that's what I truly believe this book of the generations of Adam was about. That Adam, as he was expelled from the Garden of Eden, had this knowledge, because I think a lot of this, it's written in deep Kabbalistic code and ciphers, and the rabbis are going to argue from now to forever over the little nuances of it. And I was really trying to synthesize this for you, and I was thinking about it, and I'm going to read chapters from both of these and give you the source material as to where this is coming from, because this is new to many. It was new to me. When I heard of it about a year ago, I was trying to trace where did that come from when I had enough time, and I said, I'll do a service on it. I was able to trace it, so I will give all this to you, Vincent. But I was thinking about this and where is this coming from and what is it to do? So if we know from Kabbalah that it's symbolic, it's a metaphor. Adam has this knowledge as he's expelled out of the garden. So I'm going to give you the teasers up front here, and then I'm going to go into the details. It flies away from him, and I'm going to read that to you right out of the Zohar. He's now into the world. He's crying. It comes back to him. What I truly believe is this is symbolic of our absolute connection with Source. When all of us have this connection
to the divine. We are activated on all levels. So what I truly believe, and you're going to see little snippets of this about light. You're going to see snippets of the light that Eve gives birth to Cain, who comes out shining like light. Do you see this? So I'm going to give you that. But what makes more sense to me than anything, and I came to this realization many years ago, let's look at this symbolically. If we are light beings, and we are encased light, we know that. Consciousness. Okay, we're consciousness. We're made in the similitude of God. We are light. We're consciousness, intention. It's awareness. On the other side, that's what you are, is awareness. If you taste of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Good and evil. Think of good and evil and you choose. Eve chose. If you take from the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil and you eat of it, you shall become like gods. That's what was the whole quest, right? Earth is the apple, taking flesh form. When you take your light being from the other side and you choose to come to earth and you choose to take on a physical body and come down here with the trials and the tribulations of earth, that's toiling. You are exposed and you are choosing to do this, and you are tasting good and evil. Are you not? Have not? All of us, we've tasted good in this world. We've seen good. Have we also seen evil? Absolutely. So if this is symbolic and it's a metaphor for choosing as our own light consciousness to taste and eat. Eat is when you become incarnate on earth. And when you take your being, your consciousness of light, and you come in and you take a physical form on earth, and now you are toiling. Would you not then have to, when they're talking about they're walking into, and they are naked and they're ashamed, and now they have to they're taking flesh bodies on. So that's now why you're having to take, clothing and put it on you, because you now have a physical body. So that's my premise as I went into this. And it makes more sense if we know Kabbalah and we know that this is the tree of life. So this is where I'm going to set this up. I want you to have this knowledge before we get into it, because you can see where I'm going with it. So if this is the tree of life, and when I read this, you're going to see, I'm going to pass it around. This is the tree of life in Kabbalah, okay? The whole thing with all the rabbis, and it's decades and decades, and it was only given to the male rabbis. But I'm going to pass this over. What is the whole story of Kabbalah? Because that's what this book of the generations of Adam are talking about. It's the source material in Kabbalah. So I had to go back to my roots of Kabbalah that I've studied. What is Kabbalah? You have the Ein Sof or light, and then you have it coming into the male, right? Then into the female. This is this lightning bolt of creation coming down. That's the Elohim that they're speaking of. That Kabbalah is the Elohim coming down, creating the universe, right? And you finally have Malkuth, which is earth. So that is what they're referencing. And when we know that, that's the light of awakening of consciousness, that you're now taking form going in from the male. I mean, the Rosicrucians, my wonderful teacher was Haley Skurlock, but in the Christian form of this, it was a lightning bolt of creation going down through every single sephira. And then we also know from the tree of life that it sits right inside the flower of life. That's in a lot of the Egyptian pyramids. This symbol is already emblazoned on a lot of the pyramids. We know this. That's the creation. So then they can break that apart with science, right? So that's, the one becomes the two, even think of the zygote, right? And the two keeps multiplying, so that's where they get the flower of life. But that's also the tree of life, which is embedded into it. So I think when we read this now, that's where I want you to see this, because I don't want us to get so overly involved in the ritualistic knowledge that they have placed within some of this. And that's what you might find when you start researching this. This is a beautiful manuscript. It's a copy of a manuscript that my girlfriend had. Her family, Shelley, they were literally the scroll writers. And this is what they took when they were expelled out of their homelands in World War II. But this is the name of God. But can you see, this is all the Hebrew and how complex it can get with all the names of God. And a lot of this does have information contained and coded in it. That's why I wanted you to see this, because when you read these passages, when I read them to you, now you're going to understand. But in Hebrew, they know that when you intone the vowels in the right frequency, if you put sand, and I actually have the spectrograms of this when they did it with a spectrogram, but you can take the sarcophagus or any drum material, and they have actually done this in the Great Pyramid. And you put like a membrane over the great sarcophagus and you do the vowel chants. It takes the sand and forms the glyphs of the Hebrew letters. So that's why I'm passing that out. Because the Hebrew is a sacred language. They knew that frequency and sound, right? And God said, it's a vibration, let there be light. So there is frequencies involved in this. And so that's what I wanted you to see as I read some of this, okay? So here, I'm literally, this is, the center was gifted. Over here you can see, this is the entire Zohar. All these books here are the Zohar. Can you imagine all these index works? That's what the rabbis would study. So that's what I wanted to show you. Where am I getting this? And let's do a deeper dive on this. Right here this is verse 51, and I'll read it in the center here, but this is where this is exactly quoted out of here in the Zohar. So we're going to be just like the rabbis. And we have access to the information today, which people didn't have before. But now if you understand, if Kabbalah is taking light, breaking it in like a rainbow into different qualities of white light as it emanates down, all the way down into earth, into us. And now, are we not out of paradise and we're now on earth? That's the expulsion. See? So, but did we choose? I mean, they're going to be arguing about that from forever, right? But does it kind of make sense if you're choosing to come from this light essence on the other side, which is unbelievable? Is that not paradise? And we know each other? I mean, I was on the other side. That's exactly what happened. You are true, pure light consciousness, and you can merge with all creation. Is that not paradise? And then when we come, is that not the fall? We fall into earth, fallen consciousness. And in here, I'm going to be reading, it's very interesting that Adam and Eve have to do, one's 44 days in the water and the other one's 40. And this is the gematria. And we can get all caught up in all these numbers because that's what the rabbis do, right? But Eve is given a lesser level of consciousness. But what is she doing? And I was thinking about this. Adam maintains a higher level, And then Eve falls to another level, almost like the Pistis Sophia, you're falling in frequency, because she has to go into the waters at a different frequency. Then I made the connection with, Ken, you may know this, but you didn't have that same rabbi teacher. It's the lightning bolt of creation from the tree of life, going through all the Sephirah. Adam is the authority. When you do the tree of life, from the Ein Sof Or, it comes into the male Sephirah. That's the authority, right? And then it impregnates. It goes further into Bina, understanding, the mother, the female creative principle. And then she gives birth all the way down to the other virtues. That made sense. That's why Eve is at another level, because she's giving birth. She's falling down in frequency all the way down to earth. And that's the whole tree of life. And our whole journey is to acquire these virtues and knowledge, to be ye like gods, and go back to paradise, but with more authority and understanding. And it is like milk down here. We're tasting good and evil, right? Throughout our journey, though, have we not then gained more authority and more virtues and become more like God? Where, of course, we're never going to be like the great magnificence, but in our own version. Do you see? So when you have that bigger picture, that's when we now have that. When we start reading this, you're going to see what I'm thinking they're alluding to. Because I'm a mystic, and Ken knows this, we have been trained by the Rosicrucians to be a walking question mark. That you don't take this on anyone's authority. Ministers, rabbis, New Age people, doesn't matter. You're to be the walking question mark. And you are to have the gnosis. You are to have direct knowledge. You take this and you go with it. You grab the knowledge that you yourself know. We can take the intellectual things, but even in the Bible, you have to have the faith, and you have to have direct knowing. That's what Jesus is even saying, right? Go direct. You can have the source material. We don't have to have intercession with priests or whoever they are. I mean, that was the whole argument between the Catholics and Protestants. But the mystics are like that. That we don't bow down and have allegiance to anyone except direct source. We're trained to acquire that direct source. We are supposed to look in all the philosophers and all of the different source materials, because that furthers our knowledge. But then when we are to interpret this, we utilize our own gifts, you see? So that's when I was thinking, if Adam is losing this and it's taken from him, what is it when he gets expelled out of the garden? In this book of knowledge, they take it from him. The reason I'm saying this is because when I went up to heaven, my consciousness was able to interpenetrate everything. When I came back down to earth, it was severed. That was severed. That unbelievable connection was severed. All-knowing. That's what I think they're talking about. Adam petitions and prays because he is a high being of light, right? Then he's able to have, there's a thing in here, and I'll read it. One of the angels, Joel, hears him, and he gives him a seventh of what he had lost. And that's of light consciousness, so that he's no longer as lost on this earth. So you're going to hear that, where Joel then hears him and petitions. God gives Adam this book back. And then Joel, this angel, comes in and gives him a seventh of what he lost when he was expelled out of heaven. So then we, as humans, as descendants of Adam, we have 1/7 of that capability from what the book, The Generations of Adam, is talking about. So We're not angels. That was the whole argument with Lucifer and the whole fall and him being expelled out of heaven, is because he doesn't want to acknowledge. That's the whole argument in here. And they're talking about this in the conflict with Satan. And you're going to read it. But that was the whole argument up there, is Lucifer doesn't want to give and pay homage to this new creation, Adam. So then he falls and he's after Adam all the days of his life. That's the whole argument here with good and evil and temptations. So that sets this up for you. And now I'm literally going to show you in the Zohar, but let me kind of give you a little bit and we're going to quote it, and then I'm going to give you where this is coming from. But does that give you a little bit of context for this? Because that's where I'm coming from. After I've read all this, I'm trying to incorporate it and synthesize it for you. How is this making sense? Where is it coming from? Like Vincent asked, where is this? That was my first question. I've never heard of this. Who had this material? Where does it come from? Is it made up? It's not. I did a deep dive on that. Now, it could have been made up back then, hundreds of years ago, just like, Genesis. We've heard it's hundreds of years later after the fact, right? And you have the oral traditions. But a lot of this material was held in oral traditions and wasn't always written. And like storytellers, they would tell it from generation to generation to generation. So even the book of Enoch, all of these, and if you do a deep dive in the Gospels, you're going to see they were written hundreds of years after Jesus, right? So let's talk about this Zohar. This is Zohar, verse 51, and I want to show you, I'm reading right out of it. And this is literally what the rabbi scholars had that all of us didn't. So now we have access to this source material. But that's where this comes from. So this is not made up. The Zohar goes back all the way, they say, to the Torah, but, to Moses, right? So this is out of the Zohar. So that's where it's coming from, Vincent. So let me read this. This is verse 51. I'll even give you the page, 456. And you read it backwards. It's kind of cool. Okay. The Zohar, that speaks about it, it speaks now, a secret that pertains to a powerful combination of letters encoded into a verse inside the Torah. The name of God, and that, remember the name, the chants, the name of God, and the certain frequencies, is a strong tower, and the righteous run into it and are safe. So it's giving you some kind of protection, right? Since doing so can be spiritually harmful, we do not pronounce the combination of letters aloud. Now remember what I said about the frequencies? And it creates sound, informs matter, and organizes it? That's very interesting. So they could have had a certain frequencies. And I've been hearing in the mystical schools, there was a lost word. So even in the mystical brotherhoods, there's a lost word, there's a lost language. So you're picking up little nuances of this throughout the mystical brotherhoods, do you see? So think about, they're saying that you're only even going to look at it. You're not going to pronounce it because it has unbelievable power. Instead, we gaze and pass our eyes over the letters. Rabbi Abba, now that's your guy who's talking in the Zohar, that's your source, Vincent, reveals that Adam was given a book of secrets. This secret book was passed down from one generation of sages to another. The book was brought to our physical realm by the angel Rosae. So that's where I went, going to find this book, right? At Rosae, okay. When Adam left the Garden of Eden, the book flew away. Adam prayed for God to return it, and God agreed. Enoch possessed another book of cosmic knowledge, which contained the inner secrets of all wisdom. The books of Adam and Enoch are the foundation and underlying principles of the wisdom of Kabbalah. That gave me what this was right there. Now I know what this book contained, and it was these foundation blocks of Kabbalah. So that's what's in these books. So then what we're going to do, and I'm going to give you this is this other book. So there's one, the book of the generations of Adam, and this other one, right? It's called The Conflict of Adam and Eve with Satan. So that's the fall, who's Satan, what happened after they were expelled, right? The mystical brotherhoods of Egypt and Israel were entrusted with these sacred books. So now you realize that they were in Hebrew. That's why you have to wait for them to be found and discovered, translated into English. And that then happens in 1703 out of Amsterdam. That was the first copy I could find of this. Explains the creation of the Adamic race for Earth was created, as well as the Luciferian rebellion in the heavens. It goes into details to what happened to Adam and Eve after they were expelled. And that's where they have to go. Eve goes into one of the rivers, Adam goes into the other river, one's for 44 days, one's for 40. Do you see this? It's different levels. And that's when I was thinking, I said, wait a second, that's that lightning bolt of creation story out of Kabbalah. So the lightning bolt, you have to know a little bit about Kabbalah. So you have the top is the Ein Sof Or. That's the unbelievable magnificence of light that they're saying that we only can get a reflection of because we can't understand all of it in our forms down here on earth because our mind can't comprehend it all, right? But it's even a reflection like a mirror of the unbelievable magnificence on the other side. And even on the other side, I can tell you with my brief time there, I was just able to glimpse, and imagine being able to feel eternity. It's never ending. And the breath of the Creator fuels all creation, generating souls and universes. Forever. Keeps creating. That's what's on the other side, guys. Imagine that. And I can only have a sliver. So that's why you say you can't understand the full magnitude, right? So that's what's up there at the Ein Sof Or. So the lightning bolt of creation takes one and comes down and hits all of the Sephiroth. So here you have the first one where it hits is you're going to have Chokmah. That's the male principle. Now think of this as Adam. Then where does it go next? To Bina, the woman, compassion. Do you see the virtues? And that's why she was slightly lower than Adam when we go through the rivers. Because now from her, it hits every other single Sephirah, giving birth to all creation, which is Malkuth at the bottom, which is earth. That's your fall. And that's the Elohim. That's the Sephirah. Now, can you see that in the bigger context of what this is? That's what I believe this was referencing. So now we're going to go into where does this knowledge come from? Where can you find it? Now that we know that it was in the original Zohar, right here, it's referencing it, right? We don't have to be rabbis now to have access. I'm actually going to read to you out of the scrolls of Adam and Eve. And I love Dr. Hertak. I want to just kind of promote his book a little bit. He has a really, this was my understanding, right? I pick up this book and I read it. Bless his heart, he's forged a path before me. And even in more fuller detail. So he's going to give you a commentary on it as to what he believes, and I'll read to you a little bit of it. So I love Dr. J.J. Hertak. So this is a book that I am literally going to read to you out of. I love him and Desiree. They are fantastic. One of the highest teachings on the planet today. So this book is called The Scrolls of Adam and Eve, and it's going to say with commentary by Dr. J.J. Hertog. He's, of course, got 2 PhDs. So he's done a deep dive onto this also. So that was my version, and now you're going to start to hear some of this other as I inform you. So the conflict with Adam and Eve with Satan, they're not part of the regular traditional biblical canon, right? They weren't included, just like a lot of the Gnostic Gospels weren't. The texts are believed to originate from an unknown Egyptian writer in Arabic and later translated into Ethiopic. So I actually have one of the books, and I have the link on my phone for those who you want, of one of the books is translated from the Ethiopic source material. And I think it's like late 1800s. Wasn't that fantastic? And it's written in, at least in English, that you can understand. The one that I got from the Generations of Adam was written in 1700s, and it's in that real old English. The book that I have that I can share links with you, is like 272 pages. And so you can do a real big deep dive into it, but it's at least in the English vernacular that we can understand. So they're translated, you can see it's from Arabic, right, into that Ethiopic, and then it has to be translated into English. And that's what we don't get into 1700s. It's not like the Nag Hammadi, it's not like there were scrolls that were uncovered, okay, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, Vincent. But what happened, it's not an archaeological event, but it's rather transmitted through literary traditions. So that's the oral, the written like this. So it's not a particular scroll that was unearthed. Their earliest known versions date back a few hundred years before Christ. So that's the earliest we can find. But that's, pretty good, right? With the English translations appearing in the 19th century, but I found some of these from Amsterdam in the 1700s. They're pseudo-graphical, meaning that they are attributed to biblical figures, but most likely written by later authors to fill in the gaps within the Genesis account. They reflect both Jewish and Christian traditions, with possible influences from Gnostic or other early religious thought, which I found fascinating. So we've got the Gnostics, and that's, the revelations direct from source. The Gnostics, that's what you were uncovered in the Nag Hammadi, Dead Sea Scrolls. You start to see that with the Gnostic material, with source material with that. They were popular in early Christian communities, so we have that. So they had this information in the early Christian communities in Ethiopia and in the Middle East. So that's where this is generating from. The book of Raziel, the angel, which is said to be given to Adam by the angel Raziel, comes from primarily Jewish, mystical, and Kabbalistic traditions. So that's where you're getting the references. You can see it, right, in the Zohar. Its textual form emerging into the Middle Ages. So now you're getting references in the Middle Ages. It's a story, a theological legend, meant to convey divine wisdom transmission. What's informing Adam and Eve? What's giving them the wisdom to navigate this world on earth? That's what this is meant. There's no literal book that was uncovered, is what I'm talking about. The other thing that I uncovered, which I'll have to do another deep dive on, it's also sourced from the Merkaba mysticism. That's a new one. From the 2nd to the 7th centuries. And the Sephira Yetzirah, now we have studied that. In the Rosicrucian, I've studied that. They have a sidearm of that we can grab some books out of that. But that's the foundational Kabbalistic text. So again, you're coming back to the Jewish foundational material, which is, Kabbalah. Manuscripts of the Sefer Razel are preserved in various libraries, and that was my deep dive. I wanted to say, where is this coming from? It's not channeled material, although someone maybe translated it where it came from the oral traditions. So where are you going to find it? The Jewish Theological Seminary in New York, the British Library, and this Bodleian Library at Oxford. So you can find these. And then I went on a little chase and got to the text, the information so that you can have a website to go to it. The manuscripts are often written in Hebrew and Aramaic, and that's where the problem was for us because we don't understand, we don't read it. So that's why I was tracing the English version, and that's what I was able to get. I'm going to read from. The earliest known versions are from the Geonic period, that's the 6th through the 11th centuries, and later redactions by medieval Kabbalists, like this Eleazar of Worms. I'd never heard of him before. I did locate a website where we can find him. That's 13th century German Jewish mystic. Get that? So that's where this is coming from. We have it. I traced it all the way back through. So we can even, I found the websites where we can find this guy, Eleazar of Worms, and you can start to see some of these original texts coming in there. So it includes, what does this book include? Because I wanted to know, what is this book of the Generations Atoms? What is it? I believe it's us to uncover our own gifts, but I don't want it, because I know from reading a lot of the Kabbalistic texts, and a lot of times they can get so ritualistic, and it's almost like if you see God, and then he goes away, well, then you're going to worship whatever the area where he came. And then, oh no, it has to be set up just like this. So they can get bogged down in ritualism. And that's what I think some of this might be when I looked at it. And I don't want us to get so bogged down in the ritualistic parts of this because we're talking about amulets. But that's why I was trying to give you the bigger understanding here. The Book of Raziel, this is a good one right here by Steve Sadow. And that's 1999. And so I went ahead and went to his website, and you can get a free, like a few chapters out of the book. And he's going into detail on this, and it's English. It's in our vernacular where we can understand it. It's not that old English, which I have. I'll go through that with a little bit. And also the National Library of Israel. So this, we can get it. We can have access to this. We just then have to use our own discernment on what to take from it, what resonates and what doesn't, right? How much has it been filtered or influenced by other individuals that are more human, right? So you also have the Encyclopedia of Jewish Myth, Magic, and Mysticism by Jeffrey Dennis. That's 2007. So that's pretty relevant too. And they'll discuss the Zephyr Razel and amulets and all the other things, and the magic and the name of God in there. Online sources such as the HebrewBooks.org. That's another one for you. And then the Jewish Museum in London or in Israel. So what I'm going to do is read to you from this, because that's where I was trying to find this. Teaser, what's going to be in this that I haven't been able to find yet? There's the 5 names of the soul. That's interesting. I couldn't find that yet. So we have to go in a deeper dive. But 5 names of the soul. And then, as I said earlier, there's 1,500 keys not given to angels, but only to humans, right? In this book. That's to Adam. And it gives you the esoteric significance of the divine names and their applications in magic. So you got to say, what was this? I happen to believe it's probably of a higher knowledge than that. It's not just going to be calling out the words. It's got to be a higher frequency that's associated with that. Now, sometimes people can, if they've lost the higher teaching with it, then they'll just say the name. So that's where I think it's a lost knowledge of our birthright of what we're supposed to have. That's what this book is. We're supposed to reclaim it. That's why I was tracing this. It even goes into angelic correspondences with each zodiac sign. It's associated with specific angels or spiritual forces that can be invoked for guidance, power, names, and signs. Now, they even have the amulets and what you're supposed to have. If we have Yod-He Vod-He, I don't believe it's the certain sign. It's its significance and maybe how we pronounce it that maybe activates us. But it's not just because you put a little, symbol on something is not going to make it magical, right? It's the higher teaching that goes along with it. So I will, there's some of this as you want to go, there's actual book, Kabbalah Secret Circles that will actually go into this. And I will go ahead, if anyone's interested, I can post some of the links online, and I have them here for everyone. And the earliest printed edition of this Zephyr of the Angel, the Book of Raziel, the Angel, is in Amsterdam in 1701. That I was able to grab. Let's see here. It's got the heavenly hierarchies. I went into that on the path of light. Remember the mantle when I discussed the journey with Jesus and the mantle came down in the frequencies of light. I believe it's going to match that. Like there's certain frequencies, and Jesus was given this mantle of light after he had been crucified on the cross. And I went into that on this. That was the Bruce Codicy and the Askew Codicy. And they're talking about the light, the robes of light. That makes reference, I think, to something like that. But let me go into you. This is the Kabbalah Secret Circles. That's the book that you can get. And who was Raziel? This is who's gifting this to Adam, right? Raziel sits among the highest class of archangels with Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. The archangel Raziel was the transmitter of secrets and author of the legendary book of the angel Raziel. In a rabbinical explanation, Raziel stands on the peak of the Mount Horeb and shouts out the secrets of mankind for all to hear. So we're supposed to have this knowledge. This is the recovery of that. If we fall into matter, which is what this is, can we lose our way? So I think that's what this is, and we're having to recover our true heritage, which is absolute knowledge and communion with the divine. To preserve this wisdom, Raziel collected all of the knowledge of the universe into a book, the Book of Raziel, Sefer Raziel, or the Book of Secrets. And according to some legends, this book was originally inscribed on a sapphire stone. That's what I thought was interesting, right? Because the emerald tablet was supposedly inscribed from Hermes, right? Thoth, on emerald. So this one was on sapphire. Blue. Interesting, yeah? So it's like a counterpart to it. The Hebrew word Raziel, what does it mean in Hebrew? Secret of God. we want to know those secrets. So the book of Raziel explains everything from the astrology of the planets to the creative life energy, birth, death, reincarnation of the soul, and other occult subjects. So that's where it gets really complex, and I don't want to go down into the muck of it, because you kind of have to weed through it. I want to give the overall picture here. The book contains the sacred 72 branches of wisdom and the 670 sacred inscriptions. In the middle was a secret writing explaining the 1,500 keys, which were not revealed even to the holy angels, according to the Zohar. Right here. So are we different than the angels? Yes. There's your answer right there. And we're given knowledge that even they don't have. So we are made in that similitude. So we are a different creation, which then gives rise to the Luciferian rebellion, because Lucifer doesn't want to bow down, or at least pay homage, right? So the Zohar is from the 13th century. We give you just a little bit of the book of the great Rosae. And then, because then I have to do the other book of the scrolls of Adam and Eve. So we have a little bit of both, so that just a kind of taster and a tease of this. I'll have the links for both of these, and that's what I was tracing. So we could give you a little taste. What was this book that we can actually access? Or was it just mythological, right? Nope, we got it. We have it. So I'm just going to give you like the first paragraph so you can see what this is about. I've already given you the taster. It's going to be way deeper than this. I want to trace the 1,500 keys. Okay, here's part 1 from 1701, okay, out of Amsterdam. Blessed are the wise by the mysteries coming from the wisdom. Of reverence, the Torah is given to teach the truth to human beings. Of the strength and glory, honor the Shekinah. The power of the highest and the lowest works is the foundation of the glory of the Elohim. The secret word is as milk and honey upon the tongue. So again, that's that secret word. And, the mystery schools will speak of the secret word, the lost word, and, even this language, I even actually taught on this a little bit. We're trying to go back to the pre-Adamic language. There is a word. Yes, it could be a sound, but I think more than that is understanding that unlocks it. Could be a vibration. Maybe you have to intone it a certain way, right, to help unlock maybe the chakras, the pineal gland, right? There is some kind of word that we keep hearing legends everywhere. Let it be to you alone. Stand in the middle of the day without provocation and without reward. Learn the tributes of the reverence of Elohim. Turn away from evil and journey on the path to pursue righteousness. The secret is reverence of the Lord. So that's reverence of the Lord as a connection to Source. He's telling you right there. And don't do it because someone's praising you or telling you. You have to desire it within you. And it's when you desire, that's you truly incorporate it. That's when you're tasting the milk and honey. Does that kind of unlock that there? The worthy go directly to the secret. What's worthy? When you truly want and desire and have good thoughts. Even Jesus said, think ye good thoughts. As you think, so you are. So we are to have pure hearts and pure minds and truly desire that connection with Source. It is written only, reveal the secret of El to serve the prophets. Remember Joel, I said that. Joel came and restored to Adam in this book of the conflict of with Satan in the, when they're expelled. It was Joel that came and restored a seventh of the light inheritance back to Adam and Eve of what he once had. Joel. So I have to tell you, in Superman, remember all Superman's guys one had a name with the L's, the Elohim. Now think of Elohim. So you're starting to see all those references, right? So Joel, we're going to love Joel, right? But what is he restoring? A seventh of what he had. That's knowledge. Ability to access, to have that knowledge he granted Adam and Eve. That's why we're different, right? But in the muck of earth, we still have that. It's our inheritance. There are 3 secrets corresponding to the Torah of the prophets. All secrets correspond to these 3. The first commandment is the first wisdom, reverence of the Lord. So it's not reverence of money, of fast cars, of diamonds, of the shallow body encasements, right? Reverence for the Lord. The Lord is all creation, all connection. So when we have that, that changes our own internal frequency. And we can activate the wheels of light. We can commune with Source. And what I say, at that point in time, we have a cosmic internet. We can access that knowledge of the divine. When you can resonate to it, that's when you can access all this knowledge. We're supposed to have that ability to commune with Source. And it's not going to be just intellectual, guys. The intellect allows maybe a pathway to start to be thinking about it, right? But once you start to think about it, you need, and even in the tree of life, you have intellect, but what is the other one? Compassion, faith, right? Understanding. So you have both feeling the feminine as well as the masculine. And that's what Clark and I were talking about. Could not the bifurcation, do you see this? The fall in consciousness, and then you divide male from female. But it's not just male from female, it's the male attributes from the female attributes. And maybe coming back to Source is a true, fully complete soul is going to have all qualities. That's your path back up the journey from Malkuth, the earth. When we're separated, do we not, and the true mystic has said to walk the middle path, you incorporate all the virtues, all the way back up, male and female, intellect as well as, the more compassion, the mercy. You have to have all these qualities entwined both. So that's when we come together. That's the communion of both, the balanced soul. And maybe we got bifurcated, because you can see it. It reminds me, the tree of life reminds me, I'm going to give you a symbol of what it reminds me of. If you have white like the sun, as above, so below. So we're going to see a reflection of it. It's a universal law. Ken and I are taught that. Everything is a universal law. It's going to be exhibited on earth that we can see as well as in the heavens. If you have the sunlight and you take a crystal, doesn't it make the rainbow? The prisms, it bifurcates it, right? Into all the beauty of the rainbow, the lights. That to me is what the tree of life is about. Source has all these qualities. And then you can bifurcate it and separate it, that's what it does, into the Elohim coming down to create. So you've taken Source, all the knowledge, and you have just bifurcated it and separated it as it comes down to the beauty of earth. And those are the qualities that we have to start to embody on the way back. All the virtues, the strength, the compassion, balance, overcoming and mastering all of our emotions. We need emotions, but do we also need stability in the intellect? That's the merging back together, and the balanced soul, and that's what Clark and I were talking about, has both those qualities. And that's the merger when you come back on the tree of life, when you can come back to the Ein Sof Or. That's our whole journey. So that's what they're referencing here in the, if it's the tree of life, this is the foundation aspects. That's your journey. That's your bigger picture as to what Kabbalah does. But does it make sense with the rainbow? If you have Source itself with all the knowledge, and then you bifurcate, you separate it. Each one's beautiful in its own way. You've got purple and green and blue. Those are all the qualities in the tree of life. Separate the beautiful virtues. But we have to have mastery and master every single one of them as we make our way back up to Source again. And then we embody all of it. So maybe that's your journey back to the Godhead. So that you become like a God, not a God, right? So, as it is written of the outer wisdom, rejoice and build a house of wisdom with the secret of the foundation. Be wise by opening the heart to the secret. Now, when I read that, the heart to the secret, do you know the heart is emotion, love? You have the chakra there that opens up when it truly is cracked and open and fully open, and the chakra is open. It has a light frequency that comes out this way, but also behind you. And they now know with the Heart Math Institute that the heart sends signals to the brain. So that's when you embody the heart. The heart is feeling love, divine love. That's our divine source. So that is masterful. And it's not just going to be intellect alone now, is it? You have to do both. There are 3 kinds of secrets. The secret of the Merkaba. That's where I want to do a deep dive next, is that mysticism of the Merkaba, right? I was like, ooh, what is this? I think that Merkaba, Dr. Robert Gilbert does a beautiful series on Gaia on that. And it's the tree of life, and they call it the grids, golden grids. But you're taking the tree of life and you're putting it above your body, and you're activating each aspect physically with your pineal gland, all of your different chakra points, but you're opening those centers up physically and then mentally, because we got to get rid of the calcification on the pineal gland. And when we do, we can have more of the third eye. We can have all the insights, do you see? Because that's what's been frozen down here. We've lost a lot of this, and then all the toxins and the poisons. So that's that chariot, that Merkaba, and I think that's what that's referencing. Can you build your Merkaba? That's physically, mentally, and spiritually, so that you're the chariot. Because you're a force field. We know that. You have the top and the bottom like a Taurus. We have this energy field. And your aura and the energy, we're making light. So I think that's activating, that's what he's talking about, is the secret of the Merkaba. The next secret is this Bereshith, and that's in the beginning of Genesis. And the secret of the commandments and the laws of God. These are made clear by the help of Shaddai. There are 3 kinds of reverence of heaven. They are the reverence of the Lord. We talked about that's direct communion. The reverence of the Shaddai and the reverence of the Elohim. The Elohim is what created. You see the different virtues. I think that's the splitting of the Godhead, when you kind of split it apart and look at it, and it comes down into more concrete matter. It is written in the commandments to serve and love. Isn't that the heart again? That's divine love, unconditional love, that unbelievable power. Probably one of the closest things we're going to find on earth is a mother's love. Mothers, in times of great tragedy, can do unbelievable things. They're connected to their child, right? So think of that unconditional love, because it forgives. It's there, it's a constant. And I would tell you that that is the journey of both mother and father, right? Because it's a merger. We have to incorporate both qualities, becoming mother and father of all humanity. And that's that sainthood. That's when you can love someone and I felt this once, where you can look into all nature, humans and animals, and love them like you haven't seen them in 1,000 years and they were your firstborn son. That you hadn't glimpsed them for 1,000 years, and you were able to be with them again. And if you can love like that, there's no greater power on earth. If we can open that love portal up, humanity can achieve anything. And that's what I believe this unlocks, is that kind of power, love. We're to have that. And it's not supposed to be about separation. Do you see? And it loves unconditionally. We have and can invoke that kind of power of love. So it is written in the commandments to serve in love, desire to regard in the heart, and keep the commandments. In the commandments, it is said of the reverence of the Elohim, revere Elohim, lest you come into the hands of temptation. So that's the virtues, right? Keep your mind on the virtues. Man is not to serve in temptation of reverence before the king, not rising up by the name. So that's very interesting. I'm thinking in reverence before the king. I think that's mankind. We can have kings and queens and all this complexity of the governments and regimes. God's source, it's love. You have to serve in love. That's the higher capacity. And we're here, do not be tempted and dissuaded, right, by some of the lower things in life that can lead us astray. It is decreed, it is written, Abraham was beloved. God spoke to him to lead a son. It is written, you know to revere Elohim. You know of love. No, it is decreed, man is happy not to journey by counsel of wickedness, meaning you always choose. You're not supposed to have all these, lower frequencies in your field, in your consciousness. It is written herein, man is happy to revere the Lord, meaning you're not supposed to revere the Lord out of fear. That's what I always had a problem with the Old Testament, right? You revere love, God. This is out of love in your heart. When your heart is open, you truly want to love God and love humanity. That's the higher frequency, not out of fear, out of true love that enacts that heart. Show reverence to the heavens all the day. Regard love in the heart. The reverence of the heavens is in the heart at all times. The reverence of purity of the Lord. Those giving reverence are loved by the Lord. There is much value in living in purity. Bathe in the glory of the light of Elohim. That's in the virtues. Some of the virtues is strength too, though. You have mercy, compassion, but strength, authority. You command, right? God gives us that ability. Go from darkness into light, divided from those led astray. As the light shines down upon the sea, that is the reverence of the Elohim who spoke to Abraham. From love, understanding was created by the love and reverence. 1,000 generations come after from the love. So I just wanted to read you one paragraph. That's just the first paragraph. Wasn't that beautiful? So that's just a taste of what's in this great book of the great Rosae. And I have the links, and you can look it up. But you know who Rosae was, and Joel. And now I want to give you, we have a little bit more time, these are the scrolls of Adam and Eve. And this, I have the link, that's a 272-page book that you can read at your, in your own timeline, we'll put it. But I want you to just see what's in a little bit of a taster on this, and maybe in the next, if people are interested, we'll see. I can go into a little bit more in depth. But I want you to see, this is what was kept from us. We didn't have this. This is in the scroll known as Adam and Eve, and this is how it begins. And we sat together before the gate of paradise, Adam weeping with his face bent down to earth, lay on the ground lamenting. And 7 days passed by, and we had nothing to eat, and we were consumed with great hunger. And I, Eve, cried with a loud voice, Pity me, O Lord, my Creator, for my sake Adam has suffered thus. And I said to Adam, Rise up, my Lord, that we may seek food, for now my spirit faileth me, and my heart within me is brought down low. Then Adam spake to me, I have thoughts of killing thee, but I fear, since God created thine image, and thou showest penance and crieth to God, hence my heart hath not departed from thee. I chuckled with that. Said, I want to kill you for getting me into this scrape, right? And God rose, and we roamed through the lands and found nothing to eat, save nettles and grass in the field. And we returned again to the gates of paradise and cried aloud and entreated, Have compassion on thy creature, O Lord, Creator, allow us food. And for 15 days continuously we entreated. Then we heard Michael, the archangel, and Joel, remember Joel? Praying for us. And Joel the archangel was commanded by the Lord, and he took a 7th part of paradise and gave it to us. That's where I wanted you to see that. So he's giving us back a 7th of what we lost. So we do have that capacity, do you see? So we have that part of heaven in us. Then the Lord said, Thorns and thistles shall spring up from under thine hands, and from thy sweat shalt thou eat bread, and thy wife shall tremble when she looketh upon thee. Joel brings this portion of the heavenly strata down to Adam and Eve. This is what Dr. Hurtak is saying, who now, after their fall, occupy the dimensions beneath the higher heavens, including all realms down to the earthly world dimensions. So that's Malkuth. You have fallen from this unbelievable height in the glory, right, without a body, but with pure light, and you come all the way down, all the dimensions. You see that? So he brings this power down. This 7th part of paradise can also be called the 7th ray of light, a system of divine knowledge that is radiated between the heavenly, multidimensional levels of creation. So this is exactly what even Hurtak is saying. I love him. So now he's saying this light from the heavens contains the teaching vibrations for many hierarchies of wisdom and knowledge who represent the living creators and programmers before the throne of the divine. It is sent directly from the hierarchy of heavens, whose work it is to supervise from a capstone level on all ongoing light creations. This matches what I just talked about in the path of light with the Bruce Codicy and the Askew Codicy. That Jesus even had a mantle of light descend upon him. Remember the dove that came? Well, he's even talking about in the path of light that after he was crucified and he was actually he had healed, he didn't die, and he came to his disciples and he had even more light robes, light wisdom, like the light coming down like a robe of light upon him, the light. That kind of gives you that parallel connection right there. Light is knowledge. Light is frequency. You see, you're emanating light. And when you can get to that aspect, we are beings of light. It's almost like we have to break out of an eggshell to reclaim that glory, the knowledge, and to have it extend. And with your virtuous acts and deeds and knowledge, you're acquiring that body of light. So those, again, that's the Kabbalion tree all the way up. You're acquiring all the knowledge back to you. As you acquire that knowledge, it changes your frequency. And you shine more brilliantly. But can the higher heavens, we have access to the higher heavens? And even with Jesus, this unbelievable mantle of light came down upon him, robed in shining light, so even that the disciples couldn't see him any. So that's knowledge and frequency, right? I think that's the whole journey here. We're trying to find and go back to our essential purity. And that's what Jesus was here to tell us, but was it not through love? And did I just not read to you from the book of the generations of Adam? It's love, right? And the temptations are the shallow ways, the things that are just physical, right? We are to abide in pure love. Now here, the archangel Joel said to Adam, "Thus saith the Lord, I did not create thy wife to command thee, but to obey. Why art thou obedient to thy wife?" Again, Joel the archangel bade Adam separate the cattle and all kinds of flying and creeping things and animals, both wild and tame, to give names to all things. Thus indeed he, Adam, took the oxen and began to plow. That's all symbolic. You know, people want to take that literary, concrete understanding. Even in Kabbalah, it's all metaphor. So what is that supposed to mean? That's the first key of the Merkabah. This is what Dr. Hurtak is saying. Plowing of the creation of life in the heavens. That gives it a whole nother meaning, doesn't it? When used in relationship to the astronomical sign of the ox, this becomes a very important point of departure. Throughout the cosmology of the ancients, humanity is said to have been given the ability to supervise and plow in the husbandry of the earth and to act as a co-creator in the lower heavens. That's a whole different level of understanding. We are to be a co-creator down here. The key to this Merkabah has its counterpart in the ancient Japanese sutra texts that speak of Hoben, the plowshare in the heavens, used by the gods. We are also told in the Tibetan texts of the various plowshares identified with the constellation Lyra, used by the teachers of light to plow through the heavens in the seeding of new life. Isn't that beautiful? So that's what that is referencing. These teachers of light illustrated even on ancient Chinese and Tibetan woodblocks and stone surfaces were pictured as sending forth the dove. What were we saw? Jesus, the dove came down. You see all this is common out. It's all common across the higher teachings, right? With the pyramidal function of light on its body, carrying down the geometry of an organized principle. The dove is followed by a heavenly sphere of light bearing its own shadow. So even the East, Jesus, we know, was schooled in the East too, right? But you can see just particles of this in all the religions. They have, just little remnants of this. Now, that gives you a whole different take on what some of these scrolls are talking about, even in Genesis, right? It seems, and this is what Dr. Hurtak says on Adam, is also given the power to name the animals. In this way, he has the power to instill a consciousness identity through the power of vibration. That's our choice and why we have this ability to co-create. We can choose. We can have the authority. We can have the compassion and understanding, but we have to choose with significance where we put our attention and then command it. And so we're given this ability. It's a dominion here on earth, right? The devil, the fallen mind energy, this is right in the scroll, said, "I do not suffer thee to till the fill, except thou write the bond, make a covenant that thou art mine." Adam replied, "Whosoever is of the Lord of the earth, do the same. Do I belong in my children?" So you read this and you're saying Adam is now agreed with the devil, Satan? But no, because Adam knows that there's a higher, it's written higher, that he's going to be given these keys and he's going to unlock this. Do you see that? So he's not. This is Adam's first indication to us that he knows that his kingdom is a part of a divine plan of work. He understands that the earthly kingdom, which is Malkuth, is the cipher of the foot, and that in reality the higher kingdom will superimpose itself upon the kingdom of this evolutionary dimension, and the two will co-dwell together in the restoration of the larger tree of life. That's the purpose of Earth. That we have to come down here to know our way back to God, to find the strength and the love, and to emit it so that we are then a reflection of what was in the glories on the other side. So I just wanted, and I can go further, but it's now 12 o'clock, but I want you to see that this is, and I already spoke about this, the cosmic birth through Eve, when she's in the waters, Adam's in the waters, and Eve's in the waters, and that's the river of the stars, the river of creation. They weren't literally in the waters for 40 days, and the other one for 44. Do you see that? They're immersing themselves in the creation, the stars, and finding knowledge. So that's just a tease. And I want you to, if you like, I'll give you some of the links. But this was a wonderful book by Dr. Hertak, and then in the Zohar, and then I have you can look for the book of the Angel of Rosae. So that just opens this doors a little bit. There's hundreds of pages, a lot of work to look and decode this, but you also have to decode it with that higher knowledge. So if there's any questions, I'll stay here afterwards. So I'm here, and this was the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light, and we did the service on the lost books of Adam and Eve. I hope that I have made a little bit of curiosity in your hearts, and that we've activated our heart chakras for divine love. So as we go out into the world, we go out with divine love, activating our own powers that were given to us from the glory of God on the other side. And thank you, Joelle. All right, I'm going to close. For those of you online and in person, the center does need your loving light energy with a little financial assistance. You can go to www.ccosl.com/donate. We would appreciate anything that you can give us, and we do have a basket for the in-person people. This can be and will be shared on Facebook Live, as well on the center and my own personal one, and it would eventually be put on YouTube so that you can get some of the source material or review it. Okay? So we'll sign off for now. Namaste with loving light. Thank you, light beings, for being here. And I will sign off first on Facebook.